The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello everyone, welcome to Leadership Podcast. We are here again for another edition of The Big Issue. And of course, as usual, I'm your regular host. George Agba is my name. And today's big issue takes us to the judiciary where the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, is facing trial over treason. Because of that very, very important issue, we have our in-house analyst and of course Tunde from the judiciary to actually address the big issue too. Tunde Olasanmi, you're welcome. And of course, as you all know, very regular person here, and of course, one would always want to describe him as a co-anchor. Silas Ezegu is also here with us in the studio. Well, and the big issue for the day is Nnamdi Kanu and the Abia court verdict against the federal government. The High Court in Abia State yesterday ordered the federal government to pay the sum of 1 billion naira to the detained leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. The court also ordered the federal government to issue a letter of apology to Kanu for allegedly violating his fundamental human rights. And of course, not satisfied, the court also asked the federal government to consider a political solution to the matter involving Kanu. Well, and of course, that judgment has been shrouded in serious controversy, as most Nigerians are beginning to wonder how a judge would have arrived at that kind of verdict. Well, only I think we'll just start with you.
Yes.
Some Nigerians have described the judgment as a courageous one, while others have condemned the judgment. And those condemning it are wondering what kind of court order that would direct payment of 1 billion naira for violation of fundamental human rights.
George, thank you for having me once again. Maybe I will start from when Nnamdi Kanu was first arraigned in Abuja court, and after serious back and forth, he was later granted bail. And after he was granted bail, the judge gave some conditions, which obviously Kanu flouted. One of which was there shouldn't be any rally of his association. And don't forget, it was at about that time too that the military, when Chukwubratai was chief of army staff, when he declared Python dance in the southeast. It was about that time that IPOB had some kind of rally in the southeast where they alleged that the soldiers killed some people, and at the end of the day, Nnamdi Kanu fled. Of course, he fled because he was later arrested outside the country. But when immediately he fled, some persons were saying that the soldiers arrested him and kept him incommunicado, that they don't know his whereabouts. In fact, they went to the extent of telling the court. In fact, they went to the extent of filing affidavit in court that the soldiers should be held responsible for his disappearance. It was later that every Nigerian got to know that he was abroad. He was in UK, threatening fire and brimstone, that it is either Biafra or nothing. But at the end of the day, the federal government had a way to bring him back. Now, let me just fast forward this story. Now, this case was filed in August. The one that was decided yesterday by the Abia court. It was filed in August, and one of the prayers was that they infringed on his fundamental rights, and that the court should make some grants of orders or some reliefs that he sought. So part of them was that they should pay him 1 billion naira, and then also apologize for the treatment given to him. And if you ask me, well, it is not new for a court to grant such relief if the court feels that if the plaintiff or the applicant is able to prove his point that his right was infringed upon. And don't forget, there is no Nigerian that deserves to be treated the way soldiers invaded Nnamdi Kanu's house and even killed some people according to the allegation he made against them. No Nigerian deserves that. No, every Nigerian has the right. Every Nigerian's right is guaranteed by the Constitution. So, if you ask me, I will not say the judgment is out of place because the judge has his reasons for giving such that judgment. But don't forget, some Nigerians, especially those who are not from that part of the country, may be looking at ethnic, how do I put it now?
Affiliation.
Yes, maybe ethnic affiliation. Maybe they may be saying it's because he gave the judgment because they are from the same area. You understand what I'm saying? So, for me, I don't think the judgment is out of that. But the army has come out to say that they are going to study the judgment and they are going to respond appropriately. And I expect them to appeal that judgment.
Well, thank you very much. Silas, what in this they say that. You see, the thinking is that for the court to further order the federal government not only to apologize to Nnamdi Kanu, but to also consider political solution to the matter. So that it is this for the most of this kind of reasons. You see, George was too generous in his judgment in favor of Kanu. That is what many believe within government cycle. Let me just be specific. Within government cycle. Yes, and they believe that the court was too sympathetic, and that is the reason why they say the judgment was made out of sentiment instead of based on point of law.
Okay.
Not facts.
Yes. There are some facts about this case. The fact was that the army invaded his house.
Yes,
There are pictures of it.
yes,
And possibly, as they claim, people were killed. They mentioned 5 people that were killed. You can see the bullet holes where they raided his house and all that. The way the army shot there, the cannon was there, they were killing. So that's why they fought, granting that his right to life was threatened. That one is a fact. So on that case, the judge can grant any relief. So ask for 5 billion, the court gave them 1 billion. That's what they asked for 5 billion. The court gave them 1 billion. Now there's a similar case to that. The Yoruba Nation agitator the court was also raided at midnight by SDSS about 2 years ago.
similar that was
Similar.
granted.
And then people were also set up in jail. Yeah, almost arrested. The case has been adjudicated and they granted 20 billion against the federal government. And I mean, federal government. Yes. So when you compare it, it's the same attack, the same possibility to kill, which the court considered, and they granted 20 billion here and 1 billion here. So if you look at it, you find out that this one is not out of place.
It is not.
I also expect the 2 cases to be appealed. Okay, fine. From another thing that the army quickly denied invading Kanu's house. The army spokesman then said it's not true. What is going on in the media is not true. That they were passing, doing show of course, and some people threw stone at them, and they were trying to contain them. That they didn't go to Kanu's house. That has been proved to be wrong. So it was even disingenuous for such a very criminal organization to deny something that was hidden in plain sight. They'll say we did it. This is why we did it.
They wouldn't have come out to say they did it.
Because it could attack on court case.
Of course.
But how do you expect people to now trust you, when you do something openly and people They did. So what the judge said, judge did not say, from what I read, judge did not say great political solution to it. He said the army should know that if they have the authorities to apply wisdom and dialogue in handling cases of those who are looking for separation. That's what the judge said. Use wisdom and what? Dialogue. Instead of raiding the house with military force and shooting everybody. Yeah, that's what the judge said. So, but possibly somebody interpreted it to say grant political solution. No. Judge said use wisdom and what? Dialogue. Wisdom, use the law and follow the law. See, if Kanu had breached the law, like he was said to have done, what they need to do is to arrest him. Revoke his bail and pick him up and try him for what? For whatever he has done. But to send the Operation Python dance, already this idea of wisdom and dialogue, already there was inflammation of emotion in that area.
Yeah.
To have me to drive in their trucks and their armored into that place will only cause people to inflame. All they just said, use what? Wisdom and what? Dialogue. For those who are looking for separation. No, one even it's a right on the law to ask for that kind of thing, but whether I get it or not is also depending on what the constitution of the country says. So, but I do not believe in Kanu's agitation at all. I don't believe in agitation. I don't even like the way he goes about it. Very nonsensical. But it does not give the government the latitude to go and shoot him like they were shooting, hunting game. Anywhere he takes that case to, and that have that attacks him that way, the only thing to be interpreted that they came to kill him, and then afterwards he fled. Now remember that timeline. And it was after this attack that before this attack, Kanu's people had not started using arms. Had not started using arms. They had not even started making this kind of patriotic statements and incitement statements that was making from London. Because after he disappeared, people didn't know where he went.
For a long time.
For a long time, nobody knew whether he was dead or alive. So that's why his lawyer says, okay, instead of accusing him of hiding him or knowing his whereabouts, even accuse him. So later when he spoke from abroad, people knew the guy was able to escape. And then that also brings to the case the idea of did he jump in? Was he the right way to run away for his life? Those ones are another discussion that we can have. But that the judge in granting the that relief, they don't act outside of the law.
He didn't.
Even to ask them to follow the law in treating it, wisdom and it's not out of the way. But he didn't say use political solution.
Well, thank you very much, Silas. We'll come back to that particular aspect, but I think we'll just quickly take a short break. And when we come back, I think we'll be rounding up by looking at the points critically. But before we do that, we'll also expect our viewer to throw in one or two comments to actually shape the conversation on the big issue. Don't go offline. We'll be back.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
The Big Issue. Break down the issues that matter.
Welcome back. We are still on the Big Issue in Leadership Podcast. And of course, the big issue of the day is the judgment of the High Court in Abia State on Nnamdi Kanu's suit against fundamental human rights suit against the federal government. Just like what we're saying. You heard what Silas said that indeed Kanu's fundamental human right was
Was breached.
infringed. Of course, the judge, it was not out of place that the judge had given that judgment. And then with all the order he gave. But you see, you remember that the federal government has also filed a fresh suit against Kanu, where it is accusing Kanu and asking the judge, the court, to hold Nnamdi, to declare Nnamdi Kanu guilty of all the killings in the southeast. You know the kind of killings that are taking place in that region, burning of police stations, the rest of other things. You see, while Kanu is asking the court to dismiss the charges because he's not cooperating. So now most Nigerians are actually looking at that aspect. Can we be actually responsible for those killings? Of course, it is a fallout of the IPOB thing.
You
Most
see,
Nigerians believe.
you see, this what you are saying now. The federal government just filed a fresh charge, amended the charge, fresh amended charge against him. It is one thing for the federal government to file the charge. It is another thing for Kanu to accept that, or to accept whether he's guilty or not. And it is still another thing for them to argue the case in court and for the court to decide the case one way or the other. But one thing I would like to say, if I may buttress what Silas said earlier, that don't forget that it was wrong for the army or for anybody or for any law enforcement agent or agency to invade anybody's residence, especially somebody who has not breached the law, who the court has not found guilty of breaching the law. Don't forget, Kanu has not been found guilty. All these things, they are still mere allegations, which at the end of the day, if he has a good lawyer, can be dismissed. So now let us look at it that you infringed on his rights, and at the end of the day, the court found him not guilty. What happens? So I will not blame the judge who gave this judgment in Abia. I think he acted in accordance with the law. So some of those looking at it from ethnic angle, I think I will disagree with them. And for me, I think the government should just allow the rule of law to take its course. Let the case go the natural way. The case is in court already. They should allow the court to decide the matter one way or the other. And this is by way of advice to both camps, talking about Nnamdi Kanu's camp and the federal government camp. I think they should stop making inflammatory statements that could further how do I put it now, that could further heighten tension. Statement that could further heighten tension. I think they should desist from it. They should just allow the court to decide this case one way or the other.
Thank you very much. You see, President Buhari too has severally ruled out the idea of political solutions to the matter. He said that Kanu should face the law. And what the president would have done is to say, face the law. If you are guilty, the court will decide so. If you are not, the court will decide so. But you see, most elders from that region, South Ohanese, that even gone to the president to seek for understanding that Kanu should be released. The president said, no, Kanu should face his trial. And as with the way we've just gotten this judgment, I think, don't you think that development that Kanu should face his trial will even favor him in the court? On the other hand, too, before you answer, there are other people who are even looking at this thing from one angle. Why this matter is even ongoing? The group Kanu is said to be his leader, the proscribed IPOB. They are still out there declaring it that they should not even eat meat from the southeast. As measures to, is this actually also good for the matter for Kanu's case? Because the more he does, the federal government has the opportunity. You see what we are saying? They are still going on in that region. Insecurity. And it amounts one of the idea of treason is that You are threatening the sovereignty of Nigeria with secessionist tendencies. With the activities of IPOB. When it's not even developed.
Okay. The case that done against Kano, nobody can say for now how it will end. Okay. Even though the president made a mistake of accusing him on TV, and say the country was saying about his content, where was the content interview? You know, but it should have said, well, let the court decide.
Decide the matter.
But to say he can't be saying those kind of thing and instead to go free. You know, that kind of thing he said there.
You are taking a position.
You're doing a position, and the Attorney General.
And you are the commander in chief.
And the Attorney General reports to you.
Yes.
So, you know, that tells you that you can take a position, and possibly the appeal that the South is made. That's not by last week. First public position and co. Did not contonize with him. Even the governor said, the judge said, use that law and wisdom. It didn't contonize. So the law is the law. Let him face. I'm sure that before he started all this agitation, we know that at one point to that he has to face.
He has counted the cost.
Yes. So, couldn't come to the IPOB agitation in reality. What is just telling the government is that even if you take Kanu out, it will not stop whatever they are doing. So the Kanu might have led that agitation, but the other people, other soldiers out there who are ready to continue in absence. And when you possibly did a bad blow to Kanu, it might influence them more to
Exactly.
to worsen things.
The situation.
So it's a government that is less stiff-necked could look at it and say, okay, what is the best play here? Government don't want to give in as okay, we have chicken out. No government wants to argue from a weak position. And I don't expect the federal government to do that. I want them to support them to do that, even if Kanu were my brother. But what they can do is to follow up with Kanu's case, you know, dispassionately, and possibly if they want to consider, you know, a soft landing, let people that are found him guilty. That's okay. Based on if you can sign up to certain agreements, you don't want to hear any other nonsense
Agitation
from that period. It's either take this or take your punishment. That's the way government can play behind the scenes, you know. But knowing the way that the military is spending across all the conflagration areas in the country, bandits in northeast, the north central, Boko Haram in the northeast, bandits in northwest, and across the north central, and even across the south, kidnappings everywhere going on. The government is not in a position to start another war in the southeast. They don't have that kind of, you know, attitude now. So they can look at, okay, look, if we can find a way out of this one, can we strike a deal here? And then so that we can now focus on this violent people who are calling people. Remember one thing, that Kanu's people only formed the ESN later, after the government was seen to be unwilling to cage the rampaging herdsmen of militia, killing thousands of people across the country. And then whenever they ask the president about it, say their brothers accommodate them. Then from that they say that from outside people. Sometimes they say they're not like so. You know, those messages you are telling people that this government is not going to protect anybody in their areas, because those who are obviously looking to be the aggressors are people from the president's care. That impression was not good for government. That's why they say, okay, they want to form ESM to curtail, to check the influx of bandits killing their people everywhere.
In other words, what you're trying to say is that the action of Kanu and his IPOB group is not different from what Katsina governor is not doing, asking the citizens in Katsina State to take out to acquire arms so that they start facing these bandits. Because
it's similar. It's similar, but you know, this is a government.
You understand?
See, this is a government saying it, but this is an adult group saying so. So they don't have the same weight. Is this already a group seen as out of terrorists? So they don't have the the
But the
legal
most
backing
important
to say
thing
that.
what I'm even saying is to even make a case for them. Because
Yes.
if a federal government will ask citizens to resort to self-defense,
Mm.
and then an individuals who are thinking of resorting to self-defense, what is the difference?
That's
it.
that. You know, see, government
That's the idea.
fails to bring in terrorists at the beginning.
Mm.
That's why it's so political coming up.
Yeah.
And when the South people didn't do anything, the Kanu's people took
Came
up
up.
the
Mm.
and found they now came together and said they have a embargo.
Mm.
You understand? And then in part of the north, too, still some governors like in Bauchi, they have a hunters group.
Mm.
But hunters of them who go
Even
to the
in
bush.
Borno, I think they
So they also have small Kwashi militia group
Yeah.
trying to help to cage the bandits that are spreading everywhere. See, the things that bandits are doing in Nigeria is horrendous. It's horrendous. So at the time the Minister of Defense said, look, don't just give in, arm yourself, fight back.
Mm.
Minister of Defense telling you, look, you cannot save you. Go and fight them back. What about
Defend yourself.
defend yourself? You know, so that is where those ESN come in. Now, along the way, they now became, when they got situated, they now became to attack governmental institutions. That's where the serious case came on.
Imagine that the minister.
So that is whatever I do is not acceptable.
That the Minister of Defense is asking citizens
To defend themselves.
Everybody will look at it as a very correct thing because that is coming from the appropriate quarters, Minister of Defense. Say, defend yourself.
Yeah. So the ESN, you know, they are still the accused of all the crimes attacking positions and all. See, I think that personal vision, I think that the agitation in the Southeast can be quite if it's handled more diplomatically.
Well, thank you very much, Silas. Well, the matter is still ongoing in court, and of course, panelists said the judge in the IBI High Court was right to have given that judgment against the federal government. The matter is still ongoing, and of course, we'll just wait to see how the federal government reacts to that judgment. And the military, whether to go on appeal, that is left to be seen in the coming days. Thank you for keeping tab with us on this program. And of course, I'll thank our in-house analyst, Silas Akunle, for actually addressing the big issue. Join us same time tomorrow for another edition of this program. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.